Hey fellow skeptics, thank you again. Lester the Skeptic Tank here, just going to demonstrate something very profound, with at least within KDE. I'm sure XFCE will have this feature available. And for those who may see this for the first time, I make references to KDE as well as XFCE. They are what are called desktop environments. When you start up Linux, in most traditional Linux setups, you usually start off with the command line. Log into your user. Once you do that, you just have to type the command startx, and this is what you see right in front of you. Now, for those who may not know, multiple desktops have been around, if my memory serves, around the early aughts. And I know there are a lot of utilities out there that would provide that. And in my own recollection, it was packaged with, I think the NVIDIA term or brand would be NView. I could be wrong on that. But there was a setting within your NVIDIA drivers at the time where you can start putting together virtual desktops. So what do I mean by that? So what you're seeing is just one half of my overall desktop. So this is technically desktop 1. Now, Linux has had this set up, and you could do this in Mac via Mission Control Center, I think is the name, for where you would go to enable hotkeys. So right now, if I were to hit Control F2, I might have to hit, oh, it helps to take my keyboard off of the end key. So Control F2. So you saw it. I can go to desktop 1, and then I went to desktop 2. I can go to desktop 3. I can go to desktop 4. I can go to desktop 5, and so on. And you could change the number of desktops you want available, and that number would be dependent on your graphical hardware / RAM and processor. Okay, so I'm going to go back to desktop 1. Now, in Windows keyboard, or on Windows keyboards, you have the ability to, the way you switch to your virtual desktops in Windows, because they added that feature maybe Windows 7, but I clearly remember Windows 10 making it very easy. Now, the way you can manage the windows, like if I don't want this window in my face, at least for KDE, I can move it to, I've set up 8 desktops for most of it. So if I felt so inclined, I can take this, move it over to that. I can move it over to desktop 3 if I want. Take this one, move it to desktop, or not this one anyway. I'm just going to close this one out. Now, from here, like I said, in Windows, you hold down your Windows key and you hit Tab. You know, in Linux, Alt-Tab, like in Windows, Alt-Tab will allow you to switch your task. Now, like I mentioned, Control, holding down Control, and then the F keys, at least in the way I've set up my Linux desktop environment, I can flip between my desktops. The reason why I like that setup is I don't need to go sequentially. What I find in a lot of Windows desktop management is I have to. At least I haven't found a way in Windows to be able to select whatever desktop I want to at will. Because for some, like myself, because I've used it for a while, I kind of have this idea of what desktop 1 is going to be for, 2, 3, 4, so on. But the other thing I haven't really taken full advantage of is when at least in KDE, I'm sure it might be available in XFCE and other desktop environments. I haven't used GNOME in about a decade. I found what a lot of people in the Slackware community have found with GNOME, that there's a lot in terms of having to maintain what gets pushed upstream, meaning with the developers and maintainers, what they provided in the repository. There's just so many things to do so you can clean out the kinks. KDE, on the other hand, I haven't found anything that would cause someone to need to update their KDE unless they're going to go to another release. KDE has been solid for me, at least on a personal level. So going back to Windows and Tab. So if I were to use Windows and Tab, so in KDE they segregate, or they label it activities. So I can technically go to a different workspace altogether if I wanted to. And say I do. So if I go here, I'm in desktop 1, I'm in desktop 3, I'm in desktop 2. So it's just about how you personally are comfortable in managing that. I may want an activities space for work, or I might want one for play, or if I really want to put myself in a space where I'm going to be building programs from different Slack builds in my particular context, because that's how I usually would do it, I would just set that aside and roll that way. So again, I can go, that's Alt-Tab, and then I can go and back to my default. If I wanted to, I'm going to double check if this is in settings. So at least in a lot of modern settings, whether Windows, Mac, or Linux, I can do workspace behavior. So right here, I can take a guess. Workspace behavior, activities. I can create a new activity. And however I want to name it, I can rename it, I believe. Configure, and I can change it to whatever I want to make it. At least if I name it, it helps me rein in what the scope of activity, or a scope of activities will be, at least in my mind when I work through it. So if I want to, I can do that. Switching, I can change how I want to. Meta is the term for Windows key. Okay. Privacy, interesting. Activities keep for all applications, only for specific applications. I haven't messed with this. Maybe I want to work with that, look into that sometime in the future, and I can create as many as I want. Okay. So technically, if I were to do something like that, I'll just create a new. And if I want to put an icon, cool. But I'm okay. I'm okay with the stock. Let me know in the comments what you think I should try it as, or what you guys think about that. So I'm gonna just make a mock activity environment. I'll go gaming. Create. So now, because my global keys are set, gaming. So here I can then just focus, or at least that's the idea anyway, focus on gaming and so on. All right. I think that does it. I don't think I need to expand on it anymore, unless, again, in the comments you feel like, sure, explore this, explore that. And I'm just doing this as like a follow-up because based on what I see in the numbers, the mounting video I did, even though it seemed a bit basic, people seem to want to check it out. So I appreciate those who did check it out. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. Hopefully you'll get something out of this. That at least for those Windows users or even Mac users, feel free, if you've got the user privileges to do so, to see what your virtual desktop or virtual workspace and management that you can get away with. See if it'll help you become a bit more efficient worker, in the sense of, maybe not in terms of speed, but at least you feel at ease when it comes to managing, especially when you multitask between projects like I tend to do at times. I don't do it as much as I used to, but I have very specific spaces I need to be in a given day. And allowing me to separate those that need to be separated so there's no confusion, because for at least for my work, we use a single portal to manage a lot of our different projects. So to safeguard from error, that would help me manage my workload a lot better. So, as I would say, until the next video, peace out. And a question I'll throw out: what say you? What do you guys think? Again, leave a comment, and if you want to be a subscriber, I appreciate that. But I'd be more appreciative of comments, again, because they help drive what I would deliver to you guys. You know, just ask me, like I said throughout, if it's something I can deliver, I'll work my darndest to make sure that's delivered. And if I don't deliver it in due time, I'll make sure I'll find a way to make sure that gets questioned, or answered rather. All right, check you all later.